So I was a junior in high school getting ready for the all-county and all-district band auditions, which I had made before, but I was never at that top placement that qualified you to get into the all-state band. And so, this time around I'm doing the same thing. I'm like, all right, I just keep practicing. Maybe I'll do better this year. Maybe some of the older people will leave and I'll do better. So I get this new lesson teacher, and he kind of has me like play through like some chromatic scales and stuff, which is part of the audition, but just like basic, he has me play. And that's basically how I play. And he's like, dude, your fingers are like ridiculously slow. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm playing all the right notes. And so he basically, lays it into me, and he's like, that's just not how we're going to play this instrument. And I'm like, okay, well, teach me how. And so let me just go through a couple tools that will dramatically help every aspect of your playing. First off, your fingers being flat like this. Now, this is controversial because there's a lot of great players out there who play like this, and they're, they make it work. But let me just say, that's because they are a fantastic musician who happen to build that as a habit. But their skill cap in terms of dexterity was almost 100% reduced because they didn't simply curve their fingers in a similar manner to that. Now, I'm not saying that I'm perfect, that I always do this and it makes me a fantastic trumpet player. No. I'm just saying that my dexterity is greatly benefited from not having my fingers flat and just having them like this. And so that's just one of those things that I'm just going to say everybody should build that as a habit. If you're like 40 years old and, this is all you can do, it's like, it is what it is. But for the most part, especially if you're young, you should absolutely have this. So once you decide to put your fingers properly like this, go ahead and unscrew about a quarter turn of these valve caps. And what you're going to notice is it's really loud, but the louder, the better. So keep your fingers like this and then play something, a simple exercise is like I just played. And get your fingers as loud as humanly possible without, sacrificing the way that you're holding it. And the point of it is, you will change notes so fast that your tone will actually improve in whatever you're playing because you're not getting stuck in that middle ground for even a split second. I don't know how it comes across on the video, but it's like dramatically different in that little second of tone that is just like as opposed to la da 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 da. So just practice your chromatic scale. With that little quarter turn trick, and if you're really focused on getting those clicky sounds, it's really loud and obnoxious, so don't do this like in rehearsal because you might get slapped. If you really get that sound though, which, you can kind of get it with them not screwed in. You should always be hearing that. But you will be like shocked at how much better you are at properly placing your fingers at the right time as well, and keeping like a consistent tone throughout. Mechanical fingers and, lyrical musician coming through the instrument is the key to just making everything sing through the instrument. One of the best players ever who does this is Alan Vitsuti, who I've heard stories here at my school of the conductor being able to hear every single time that he pressed his valve down because he was that disciplined and like strong in his fingers almost, not strong, but like quick to like press down, that he was playing all these crazy runs, and yet the director at the time literally the whole time was hearing that, and he was just like, I've never heard that ever in a brass player. But it's like Alan Vitsuti's doing it. It's like, why are we not striving to get there? And so I think the easiest way to practice this would be the chromatic scale. But it's something that you can kind of think about throughout all your other practice too. If you're practicing some 16th notes and you're realizing, your fingers are slow, maybe sit there for a little bit and just go, and be like obnoxiously loud with it. I accidentally did it loud with my playing too. Whatever the lick is. And just like sit there, especially the singing and fingers at the same time is like extremely beneficial. Da, 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 da. So just making sure that you're getting those clicks all the time can like be the most beneficial thing ever that you were missing in your practice. And one way to incorporate this, I hate to use a metronome, but let's say we're doing something simple. Sitting there with the clicks and just being da 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 da. And you'll notice that you might be getting the click sound, but now that we have the metronome on, you're like, oh wait, it's not really quite in time. So you can improve your dexterity alone, like just singing with a metronome and doing your fingers like dramatically, going through maybe a passage that you have that's hard, nice and slow. Sorry, this is obnoxious. Nice and slow, and just da, da, things like that. Man, when you put it back to the instrument, without the clicks. I don't know if that's actually the correct run, but it just makes it so much easier when you have that that security and being like, all right, it's not going to be random. You get the point if you put the time into it. It's just like night and day in what is going to come out of your bell, especially in like those technical passages. But also, if you're playing something lyrical, it's really got to be, the fingers have to be fast, and then just let your voice do the singing, and then let your fingers do the hard work of like changing notes. Kind of a side note, I seriously recommend that in addition to you getting super mechanical with your fingers, you get really mechanical with your third valve slide, and maybe sit with a tuner and figure out where it needs to sit for a D and a C sharp, because those are pretty much the two notes that you're gonna want to kick out a bit. So for me, it's pretty close to this. And so you can kind of make up exercises. Just, whatever you want to do. And just kind of sit there for like a while and maybe sing through it. And just make that a part of your like natural instinct when you're playing the trumpet. And then it's something that you don't have to think about ever again if you just spend like a few hours total, not like in a session, a few hours total ever, just sitting there and being like, all right, how do I have to do this? And trying to make that almost as mechanical as your fingers themselves. So I apologize if this video is all over the place and kind of hard to follow, but hopefully you kind of get the general concept that like you want these to be just like the fastest things in the world, and it makes it so much easier to just be able to sing through the instrument because you don't have that kind of restriction of not knowing exactly what your fingers are going to do. So just nice and slow through whatever you're working on, just going through it with that sort of precision of your fingers, making sure that we're not, doing the flat fingers. I don't recommend that, especially if you're learning. I don't see any benefit to it, honestly. So if you have any specific questions, leave it in the comments below. Maybe somebody else will have a better answer than me, or, I'll help you out too. But definitely try it out, do the clicky clickies. That's what we call them, clicky clicky. Try it out and, just let me know if you found that it helped or maybe it made you worse. It's not going to make you worse, I promise. So just let me know and make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.